Well, as the Cyber Monday deals expire, we're looking ahead to Giving Tuesday, a day that brings a good reason to spend. It started in 2012 as a way to help others, and now, entering its 7th year, this movement is very well known. Tonight, I talked to local charities about the competition that this day brings and how much good it brings as well.
In 2012, a simple idea out of a community center in New York City sparked a national movement to focus on others during the holidays.
For the last several years, we've tried to focus on that day also, just to help folks understand that there is great need in their individual communities, and would you be so kind as to make a gift?
Giving Tuesday now comes every year after Cyber Monday as a way to celebrate and encourage giving.
You'll probably see lots of nonprofits out there talking about their accomplishments and what they can do with the money. And
this day brings a lot of competition for local nonprofits that rely on donations to run their operation.
There currently are about 1.8 million nonprofits in America.
Dr. Smita Baroli runs one of those nonprofits called Smiles for Hope, offering free dental care to women and children in need. She says this time of year, all charities are looking for the same thing, and it is a crowded field. But when people donate, that feeling is priceless.
Oh, it's a feeling of joy, because as a part of a nonprofit, you know what it takes to help the people that you're working on behalf of.
Dr. Baroli says the Knoxville community is filled with compassionate people who want to help, and that's why she takes every donation seriously.
When I see that support, there's an enhanced sense of responsibility to make sure that those donations reach the right people and reach the right hands.
And the United Way is partnered with Regal Entertainment this year for Giving Tuesday. Regal is matching up to $100,000 that's raised, and that money will stay right here in this community.